Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ro and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. As you guys can see, I'm going to let you guys know my top 10 books of 2022 and I'm going to include 2 non-fiction in there because they had like 5 stars and I loved them so much and I have to talk about them. But I wanted to make this very fair, so I kept the non-fictions separate from the fictions. So I will talk about those 2 first before I get into my countdown. So my absolute favorite non-fiction of the year was definitely Jessica Simpson's book Open Book. I loved that book so much. I think it was one of the very first books I read of the year and I loved it. I know that they're making a mini series, I think. It's probably my favorite biography that I have read of a celebrity. So I definitely think it's worth checking out. It has some pretty funny and interesting information in there and stuff that I really didn't know about Jessica, and you don't have to be a huge fan of hers to enjoy this book. I think it was really well written. I grew up in the 90s, so I did grow up with Jessica Simpson around and I was a fan, so I really did enjoy this book. And then the second non-fiction book that I want to talk about is Limitless by Jim Kwik. This is more of a self-help type book and I really loved this book. I thought it was really well written, it was easy to follow, it gives you information that you can put into practice straight away. I think this is one of my favorite self-help type books and I definitely think it's worth a read. I've literally told everybody to read it because I do think that it's worth reading. I'm going to reread it because I feel like I want to refresh my brain with like the information. If you've read a lot of self-help books about that kind of stuff, time management and all that kind of stuff, you might not love it or you might not find anything new in it, but I definitely think it was very useful and helpful, and I like that he gives you a background of his story and how he got to the point where he is and how this stuff has helped him. So that is why I also feel like this book is really worth your time. So now that that is out of the way, I'm going to get into the top 10 books of the year that are fiction. Now with these, I really didn't have much trouble picking my top 10. I feel like even though my average score on Goodreads was 3.8, I think in 2022, I didn't necessarily absolutely love all those books, so it was a lot easier for me this year to kind of condense it to the 10. And at number 10 I have A Christmas Carol. So this is the classic. I read this one in December during the Christmas period and it was quick. I think it was only an hour or a couple of hours and I really loved this. You've probably seen a movie version of this, but I really liked the writing in this and I really enjoyed my journey, and I feel like it's one of those books that I will definitely reread because it's so quick, and probably will read every Christmas around the time of Christmas because I just really like this story. At number 9 I have Daisy Darker by Alice Finney. I know a lot of people absolutely love this book. This is a lot of people's absolute favorite of the year. For me, I've read so many of these whodunit books that I felt like I kind of knew what was going on. I kind of guessed the first twist. I'm gonna say there's 2 twists. I really did enjoy the second twist, but I had fun with this one. I think that it was definitely a good time. It's not one that's really memorable for me. I feel like like I said, I've seen and read so many of these types of stories that this didn't really do anything new for me. It felt very Knives Out. It felt very Agatha Christie, which obviously it's supposed to. It's supposed to be very inspired by And Then There Were None, which is a book I still haven't read, but I have it on my TBR. I did enjoy it, but like I said, it's not anything that I haven't read before, so it wasn't an absolute favorite for me. At number 8, I have Crown of Midnight. This is part of the Throne of Glass series. I did start the Throne of Glass series in 2022, but this book was better for me than the Throne of Glass, so that's why it made it in my top 10. This is the second book in the series and I just really liked the fact that this had more action in it, more background as to what was going on and who Selena is, and I just really like where this story is going. So I really enjoyed this. I will be continuing with the series. As you can see, I've got it back here, and I'm really loving this this world of Selena, and yeah, I like Sarah J Maas. At number 7, I have Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough. I absolutely loved Behind Her Eyes, and that book, that ending still plays in my head, and it was so shocking the first time I read it, and the fact that that book has stayed with me since goes to show that it was very effective for me. Some people may not like the twist because of how random and weird it is, but that's what makes it so good for me. I was wanting to pick up another Sarah Pinborough book to see if I could find something as good or almost as good, and I think Insomnia did the trick for me. I really liked this book. To be honest with you, I can't remember the twist. I really can't. I know that there is one or two twists, and I really liked the twist. I remember enjoying this. When I finished it, I remember like being blown away by it, but I honestly don't even remember now. So I might have to reread it, but I know that I really enjoyed this book, and I'm definitely keen to read more of Sarah Pinborough's books in the future. At number 6, I have Hidden Pictures. This one was a very recent read. I think it was in the last week of December that I read this one. I loved this one. I thought it was really good. I remember hearing people talk about the book having like pictures, because this is about a little boy who starts to draw these pictures, and it's a little bit creepy, and people were saying that it's good to get the book because of the pictures. And so I did buy the book, but I also listened to the audio book at the same time, and that was really fun. I felt like this was such a quick read, and I didn't know where this was going, which I loved, especially with a very similar premise to other books and movies that I've seen. This didn't have the same kind of ending that I was expecting it to, but I did kind of guess the sort of twist, the first twist, before it was revealed, but not too soon, which was good. But then the second twist, I did not see coming, and I really loved that. I haven't been explaining what these books are about. I feel like so many people on here talk about these books all the time, and I feel like you probably know what they're about already. So I just wanted to go through this list as a list to let you guys know what my favorites were. But if you are interested, I will link my Goodreads down below for you guys, so you guys can check out my review and check out the synopsis for all of these books. At number 5, I have The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is a book that I read in January of 2022. I was at the coast, and I'm not really much of a rom-com romance reader. I'm more into the thrillers and the horrors, or the sci-fi and fantasy. So it was very different for me to kind of go into this direction, but it was summer, I was at the beach, and I really wanted to read something beachy, so I picked this one up, and I absolutely loved it. It is basically like Just Go With It, the movie, and What Happens in Vegas mixed together. And I love both those movies. So I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's the hate to love trope, which I usually don't love, but I really liked it in this. Like, I feel like it worked. So I really enjoyed it. This book actually made me think that maybe I could read some more rom-coms, but I haven't found anything that I loved as much as that as yet. So at number 4, I have The Exorcist. You guys probably know what The Exorcist is about. This is pretty popular now. Everybody knows this. There's a very popular movie, obviously. That's the movie that I watched first. So I watched The Exorcist first before I read the book, but the book is basically the same thing. So it is a one-time read for me, but it's still one that I would like to own physically, because I do think it was such a good book. Super creepy. There is a lot more dark stuff in the book. I feel like it's very graphic compared to the movie, and if you've seen the movie is pretty graphic as well, but the book has some pretty disturbing stuff. I listened to the audiobook as well as read along, and I enjoyed that experience, so I highly recommend the audiobook. At number 3, I have Verity by Colleen Hoover. I know a lot of people who love this book, and I know a lot of people who absolutely hated it. I loved it. I thought the twists was so good. This was probably one of my favorite books that I've read in a while, and it made me realize that Colleen Hoover can write some good thrillers. So I since picked up Layla, I believe, and there's one called Too Late. I think they're both thrillers, so I'm really looking forward to reading those. And yeah, I really enjoyed Verity. I thought that it had a really good twist and it had a very good premise too, so I highly recommend checking that one out. At number 2, I have Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. Amber Tamblyn is an actress who has starred in the films The Ring and The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. So you probably know who she is. I'll put a picture here so you guys can see. So she wrote this book, and I had heard a few people on BookTube talking about it. And so I decided to give it a go. It was an experience. It was something else. It was very well written, beautifully written, kind of like poetic in some way. I really like her writing style. So I definitely do want to read more from her, but I really liked where this book went because it was very different to anything else that I had ever read before. I can't really say it because it's going to give it away. I think it's excellent, and it's a book that I want to own because I want to physically have it. I don't know what else to say. It was really good. That's why it's my number 2. And my absolute favorite book of 2022 is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. I don't know why it took so long to read this. My mum actually read it before I did. I had it on my shelf for a long time, and then I finally read it and it blew my mind. This has so many twists in it at the very end, and it was so good. It was so well written, well paced. I did not see any of it coming. It was just, I was mind blown by the end of this. This was another one of those books that has stayed with me, and I keep thinking about it because it was that good. There's only been a few books that have done that, and most of the time when they make my number 1 spot is because it's a book that I can't stop thinking about, and this is definitely one of those. I tell everybody to read this now. This is like one of my top recommendations. This and No Exit by Taylor Adams, which was my favorite last year. It is so good. It is so good. I don't want to say anything about it because I don't want to give any spoilers. I highly recommend going into this book blind, not knowing anything about it, which is what I did. And it's what I do with most books. I like to go in without knowing anything, which is why I don't do any TBR kind of videos, because I don't really want to know too much about a book. I kind of want to be surprised. So definitely check it out. It's the best one that's come out this year. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had a good 2022 and wishing you a better new year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you, and it helps me with my YouTube growth. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.